Welcome back, everyone. We're now going to do the revision on the 3 written questions, okay? The 3 written questions. There's one detailed on team development, and as you know, in 1965, Professor Bruce Tuckman researched how teams develop, how they work, and that they often have a life cycle, like most things is a life cycle, particularly if they're only formed for a specific project, because a lot of times they are. However, in everyday life, we actually work in teams as well. So once again, I'm going to go through those 5 stages of team development, and as usual, they are in a particular order. The forming stage is when a team actually gets together to form for the first time, and they introduce each other. They're usually very polite and nice and find out a little bit about each other, and that's usually what happens, particularly if they haven't met each other before. So that's the forming stage. Then the next one is the storming stage. Doesn't always happen, but I've noticed in my experience quite a lot of teams do go through this stage. This is often when people start questioning, why is he the leader, or why aren't I this, or what's wrong with that person, or that sort of thing, because you often get conflict and tension in that second stage, and we've called it storming, mainly because these words all rhyme. The next stage is actually what they call the norming stage, and this is where people start organising themselves and they start bonding with each other. They've got over the conflict and the tension, they've managed that, they've got to the bonding stage, and that's usually called norming. Okay, people are starting to act and behave normally. The next stage is the best one, of course, is performing, when you get real good results, really good results. And as you know, with more than one person, you often get better results than just a person on their own. And that's what you want to look for. And this is when the team has become mature and you get really good results. Now, if it is a project, it usually then finishes, because any project's got a start and an end. And this is what's called adjourning, or mourning, some people call it, to rhyme. And this is when the team actually finishes or disbanded. So this is the stages, there's a bit more detail about it on Tuckman's team development stages. And actually we've got some models here just to show you. One of them's got the energy or the productivity on the left-hand side of the graph, and the other's got over time. And you can see they go through those 5 stages. There's another one on the right-hand side that's very similar. That's the first question. Now the second question is on assertiveness skills. We've already said what assertiveness is, but this is how you personally would deal with the following scenarios, the following examples. The first one is you have to write about the 5 of these. The first one, speaking to a person who has jumped a queue. What would you say to somebody if you're in Woolworths or David Jones or somewhere like that? You're in a queue to go to the counter and somebody jumps in front of you very rudely. What would you say to them? How would you use your assertiveness skills to say something to them? This is your own words. There's no written answer from a book. The second scenario is asking people in a theatre to stop talking. You're at the movies on Saturday night. You're looking at the movie and really enjoying it, and then the person next to you who you don't know starts talking loudly. What would you say to them to stop talking? The third one is asking someone not to smoke. As you know, in Australia we have quite strong laws anti-smoking because of health reasons. So what would you say to somebody using your assertiveness skills of please don't smoke? The fourth one is a bit more complicated. It's asking for a salary rise. You have been in this job for say 2 years and you see other people getting salary rises and you're not. What would you do? This is where you'd use not only assertiveness skills but negotiating skills, okay? You'd negotiate to get a higher salary. The fifth one is pointing out to an authority figure that they are wrong on a matter of fact, on some fact. It could be your lecturer, it could even be me, that you disagree with something, that I've got the facts wrong, I've said the wrong thing, okay? What would you say using your assertiveness skills to point out that what they're saying is incorrect? It happens all the time. That's the second question you might choose. The third question you might choose is a case study on a presentation. So this is a case study. You need to read the case study thoroughly, and then you need to write a reply on the question. It's got, please send an email to the person, to this friend of yours, about what you would advise them to do. And I'll just have a quick look at the exam paper. But I'm just going to read out the actual scenario, the case study, because this does happen. So a friend of yours is about to give a presentation but has not spent much time on researching the content. Remember, we said that a good presentation is a combination of good content and good delivery. They're the two major parts of any presentation. And this person says, I'm not too worried about the facts. A friend of mine told me that people give only about 7% of their attention to any word you use. So I'm spending most of my time in front of the mirror working on my gestures and my delivery. Now, you know that that's not the right way to do it. So what the question is about, and I'll just open it up and explain it to you, is you need to write a brief email or maybe memo to this person to explaining about where they're gone wrong, basically, and how the theory of 7% of only using words is actually incorrect. Remember, we showed the video about the Morabian theory that was a myth, showing that it was incorrect. Even I got taught at university that words were only 7% of the whole presentation, and it was actually turned out to be incorrect. And that must include some include in your reference the Morabian theory. Now, to see the Morabian theory, remember we did it in class when we talked about oral presentations. You need to go to the lecture notes, I think it was 11, open and listen to the video embedded in the lecture notes. No, it wasn't week 11, it was actually week 9. Look at the video and remember what he said, and that's what part of your response should include. And I've got that in the question as well. So it was because the Morabian theory was misinterpreted, totally misinterpreted. So you need to put that in your response to your friend. The fourth question is a report on managing conflict in your workplace. Now remember to use the correct business structure. It's different than an essay. It's not just paragraphs, but it's got subheadings. Remember what the subheadings are. I think in actual fact, no, I don't actually have, but you should use one plain English, but you should also have things like executive summary for that busy executive senior management that doesn't have time to read the whole thing, some background on the business, you know, where the business started, who started it, when it started, that sort of thing. Then there should be some analysis, which is on the conflict, what the conflict is in the workplace. It's where you work now, okay? It's where you work now. So you need to explain what that conflict is. If you don't have any conflict in your workplace, then you have to make it up, okay? Just make it up, pretend it's a different scenario. So, and don't forget to finish with recommendations, okay? We should always have recommendations in a report, and these are your recommendations of what you recommend the management to do about the conflict, about managing conflict in the workplace. Now that was the last of the 4 questions, the written questions, but you remember to only answer 3, please. Just a few protocols. This is actually for exam protocols, but they're the same as test protocols that you would have done in the first and second test. This one, however, is different because it's a closed book exam. That means you can't take any notes. You're not allowed any materials, okay, none at all. This is why you must look at this video to get the answers, okay? If you don't do that, then you are being stupid, okay? So, and multiple choice questions must be answered on the bubble sheet. Don't forget to write your student number in the bubbles as well. So you put your number across the top, then you answer the bubbles. Remember to write your name and student number at the top of each answer page. Don't forget in the written questions to have a separate new page for each written question, or written answer, I should say. This test is marked out of 85, however it's worth a whole 40%. That's what they call the weighting, okay? So it's marked out of 85. The multiple choice questions are worth half a point each, which means 20 questions, that's 10. and each of the written questions are worth 25. That adds up to 85, okay? The exam is for 2 hours, plus you've got 2 hours of reading, 10 minutes rather, of reading time. Please, please, please do not be late. If you're more than 10 minutes late, you will not be able to do the exam, and you will not be able to do a resit. You have to have a very good, valid reason to do a resit. So please, please study and do your best. Have an early night the night before. Don't eat too much rich food. Get up early, have a good breakfast, and be on time. Take an earlier train or an earlier bus. I don't want you to be late, okay? So that's it. Thank you very much, and good luck. Thank you.